welcome to NFT Insider, presented by BLAXK by ActionCity. So this is the last of our 4-part session, and we'll be talking about NFT Asia and our artist-led community building initiatives. Let me introduce myself. My name is Jonathan. I am a visual artist, a lecturer at LaSalle College of the Arts, as well as a founding member of NFT Asia. And on our panel, we have Clara, who is an art lead and curator at Appetite, also founder of NFT Asia. We have Hammy, who is a visual development artist, and we have Andy Young, who is a visual artist. Let me introduce myself in a little bit more depth. I work with photography in my practice, and I've been interested in blockchain technologies and NFTs for about the last year or so. And I'm currently working a lot with Clara and some of our other team members on NFT Asia to build this community, which we will talk about more in depth later on. Clara, would you like to talk about yourself?
Sure. Thank you, John, for the introduction. Hi, my name is Clara. I'm art lead and the curator at Appetite Singapore, where we curated Right Click and Save, the first large-scale NFT exhibition that was staged at Fine Art Storage Services inside Le Freeport. I am also the founder, part of the founding team of NFT Asia alongside John, where we lead a digital native community focused on Asian and Asia-based creatives. I'm also an independent arts writer and adjunct lecturer at LaSalle.
Hammy, what about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Hammy. I also go by the name The Curious Unicorn. I'm a visual development artist. Currently, I'm also working on my own 2D animated film. It's a short film. It's traditionally animated, just like the old times. Frame-by-frame animation as well. Yeah.
Andy, what about you?
Hi, my name is Andy. I'm a visual artist. I've been working as a visual artist for the past 2 decades. So I've been dabbling with quite a lot of medium because I do music as well. So I'm a musician and kind of a multidisciplinary artist, if you would say. So I've always been really curious about a lot of technology and things that has to do with art. And I work on the traditional aspects of art as well. So right now it's currently exploring a lot of NFTs. Yeah, that's for me.
Amazing. Thank you all so much. So maybe to kickstart this conversation, Clara, this question is for you.
Sure.
Can you tell me about how NFT Asia was founded and also what is the vision for it?
Sure. Well, the story behind NFT Asia was last year around February. I was writing a piece on NFTs in Asia and Southeast Asia specifically, and that's when I got connected to you, John, to speak Cryptic, to Shavonne, Wong, and Ernest Wu, so some other artists who are also in Singapore. And at the time, we started to realize that there was a lack of conversations focusing on Southeast Asia or Asia, the greater continent. And at the time, much of what we would see in the media about NFTs were happening and focused on the West. So we felt that there was a great need for conversations to center on what's happening here in our locality, but also to create just to have the same chat room where we could get connected, share resources, build together. So that's how we kind of opened up the Discord. And then Shavonne, who was already well embedded in the NFT ecosystem at the time, pointed out that there would be a lot of value if we opened this up and welcomed anyone who was interested in supporting Asia and Asian artists. So that's what happened around March. So since then, we've been building continuously. Our main focus is really about gathering resources, making sure that we can connect artists to the opportunities that they're looking for. We can kind of build build skills together, right? Because there's so much learning to do for NFT artists that it can be really important and meaningful to be a part of a community where you can learn and support each other together. So that's kind of the impetus behind NFT Asia.
Amazing. And I think, in the beginning, there was this very daunting barrier to get over, especially for artists who may not be that familiar with the blockchain technology and NFTs. and we wanted to kind of focus on education for each other, as well as to provide space to support each other in the space, either through kind of like pitch practice sessions where we'll have kind of internal sessions for artists to talk about their work and about their projects without putting themselves out there yet, because we all need practice somehow. And I think that kind of fosters a way of working where we can tell each other what we need to work on. We can share a little bit more of that knowledge. We're talking about knowledge sharing to each other as well. Maybe this will lead me on to my next question for Andy and Hammy. As artists and art workers yourselves, what do you look for in a community? So this can be in the context of a physical community or even a digital one. What do you think you look for?
Hammy, you go first?
Yeah, sure. So I'm actually Bruneian, right? So as a Bruneian artist, but based in Singapore, I see that there's a lot of lack in my country, especially in terms of support. So I think in a community of artists, what's most important is the support for the artists and to people to provide opportunities for the artists. So what we recently did was with a friend of mine, he's also a Bruneian artist. His name is Yazid. He's a Bruneian generative artist. So we both started like a mint fund, right? A mint fund to help artists to onboard onto the platform and provide them with training, provide them with opportunities and and exposure to the new concepts of NFTs. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this community is like it has to be. It's great that everyone is like helping each other, because I think within the arts community, even prior to I think the NFT community, because artists have been like have been helping out each other for quite a while in terms of, because there are certain strengths to art practitioners. There are some which are really good in writing, and some are very good on technical skills, and some are good at organizing. So they kind of like get together to actually form like a, a community, or to actually support each other, to help each other, and to, like you mentioned earlier, John, it's like certain things that we need to brush up on each other's skills, like maybe speaking, or like talking about the work, or technical skills, so we could like help each other out on there. Yeah, so I think that's a good part of like having a community for that. Yeah, but also because being artists, most practicing artists are like were quite loners. Like everyone was doing their own things, but and then there were like there was a lot of barriers that would kind of like stop them from like meeting each other. But right now it's like it's kind of warmer now that everybody's got together. So everybody from any artist at any level is welcome to be in the community, and then we can just help each other out on there. Yeah, be it technology or like styles or just like skills to upgrade. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about like building that hive mind, right? Like,
yeah, it does.
If you ever needed help with something, you can go to, a place or some people, and get some help, or just recommendations in general. And I think for artists specifically, where they put their work out there, it's a very vulnerable space for them as well to be, emotional, and also very, very attached to the artwork that they put out to the public. And to be able to have a safe space to kind of talk about it, to speculate about it, to just have each other together. I think it builds a camaraderie in the space, to build it together better, in that sense. So maybe kind of framing a question for you, Clara. How do you see the key differences between physical communities that currently exist in the trad contemporary art scene versus digital communities that's been popping up in NFT spaces?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Maybe I could start by sharing a bit more of what we observe with digital communities. I think specifically with NFT Asia, we really started around a common topic of NFTs and blockchain. But because of the nature of NFTs, that in itself is so vast and can be very amorphous. So we might have started with conversations pertaining to fine art, like one-on-one, like rare artworks. But because NFTs can hold so many different possibilities, naturally the conversations also shifted to include collectibles or gaming, like play-to-earn games, or other kind of explorations, such as more and more conversations towards on-chain art, playing with smart contract, how do you work with developers, so on and so forth. So I think the way that NFT Asia works kind of as a digital community is that there isn't a physical site that unites us, just by nature of the fact that we're also based in so many different countries and locations. I think we're lucky to all be in Singapore, where we do have quite a few of our members.
Totally.
But because NFT Asia's reach is so wide, that we see that it's just the beginning for then other communities or sub-communities to form in their specific localities. So I think perhaps that's one thing, that just because we are digital native, that it's the first meeting point that can open up to more physical sub-communities to then form, depending on what their needs are within different places. I think another is also that perhaps it's the speed of information or the frequency with which we connect. Something that that I personally really love seeing in NFT Asia is that because we're on Discord and we have a voice chat, anyone can hang out there at any time that they would like. And the barriers to joining that conversation is so low. You're already on Discord. You just have to connect to it. So anyone can jump in and then get to know a new person, or participate in game nights, which we do every Monday, or sign up to be a part of pitch practice. You're just in the comfort of kind of your own bedroom, right? And you can already get connected to different people and socialize or have conversations together in that kind of a very accessible way. Or when we run Twitter Spaces as well. I think the focus of accessibility, regardless of where you are based, regardless of say what time zone you are in, we try to accommodate it as much to different countries in Asia as we can. And yeah, I think just that, being borderless, right, on blockchain and based on the internet, allows us to have this kind of reach and this kind of connection. Whereas I think a physical community would allow, a particular member or artist to have more specific kind of connections, or be reaching out to very specific resources that are based in the place where they're from, which we also see, say in Singapore, where we're doing something, where we're mainly just connecting with artists who are based here. But yeah, I think just because of the main mode of communication and connection, that these differences pop up.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up some great points, geographical barriers, the fact that we can have a spaces whenever we want. We don't need to, kind of organize in a physical space and have people come in. I think that reminds me of one of the spaces that we did last night, and it was, I think it was at midnight for people in Singapore. It was 9 a.m. for people in Chicago, and then people kind of join in from different parts of Asia where it's 2 a.m. and then some are later in the afternoon. So you have all these inputs from people all around the world, and they're able to be there together despite of the limitations of where they're from, or needing to access a place, or having access to travel. And I think this is one thing that virtual communities can really thrive on, which is to build this borderless, decentralized format that we can just run with it and build things and build satellite events as well. Yeah. So maybe this question can be for Andy. What is something that you really love about a virtual community?
All right. Right now, okay, it's really very interesting because for me, I have been, even prior to joining NFT Asia Discord, right? I was always reaching out to people, to talk to people from various industries, or even within the arts community. There's different different people doing different styles of work, and how do we get about doing all the marketing, how do we get about doing promoting our work, and because there's still a lot of things that you need to learn, even though that you already know that roughly where to hit and how you're doing it, but you just want to know if there's any better way in doing. So right now, because of this virtual community, right, it's like it's anytime, like 24 hours. If you can't sleep in the night, you're bothered by a question or something, you log into Discord or into Twitter, somebody is there, So it is great to have that, because and then you find yourself learning more things. Like there are some things which are out of your comfort zone, but you actually make yourself go through the whole process and you learn something new. So every time you embark on a conversation, and also like you mentioned earlier, sometimes there are some areas which some people be they need some help from some other side, and you are there. So it's always it's really decentralized. So it's not you gotta wait for if you're in Singapore, it's it's too late now, I can't call anyone. Yeah. You just need to call your buddy or something, right? But when you're working on something right in the middle of the night, when you're enjoying it, and then you're stuck somewhere, then you gotta wait. But right now it's the resource is there. So the resources are there, which is great. So sometimes it gets a bit too abundant, because you try to catch up and you try to learn as much things as you can, but there's only so much you can learn for a person to learn. So it's great to have that community. And right now, especially artists on every level, the level of experience that they gain through the time is actually much faster than how I first started starting out as an artist, where you really need to really knock on doors. Right now you've got people showing you the loopholes, what's a better way of going around it, rather than and of course it's they don't fall into any loopholes which has already been somebody has fallen into. So it's it's great to know that everybody is caring for each other as we move along. Yeah.
Amazing. Hammy, what about you? Are there any points you love about a virtual community?
For me, it's for the virtual community, especially for my my artists in Brunei. I think it gives them more exposure into everyone else other than Brunei, because Brunei is a very it seems like a very traditional country, very protected, very not say spoiled, but kind of very to themselves and very isolated. But I think with slowly introducing the NFT world to them, you see the kind of support that you get on the different communities from different countries, and how everyone is supporting each other through not just art, but also things like fundraising, and giving it back to charity, and all these things together. It kind of slowly teaches them and exposes them that, in order for you to get your art out there, you also need to explore and connect with other people as well and learn more, and that's how you improve your work and and get more eyes on your work and stuff like that, right? Yeah.
So on that point that you brought up about fundraising, I know that you've been working to onboard Bruneian artists from the traditional art space into the NFT space. Perhaps you'd like to share a little bit about how are you utilizing a virtual community to kind of help expedite that process of either education or onboarding or just kind of advice in general?
Okay, the art community in Brunei is very small. So mostly the traditional artists, they're all senior ages, above 50. And the digital artists are also really a small community. So I try to not just focus my attention onto just the traditional, but also both. But I try to kind of work with the older people to it's a little bit more challenging for me, because I want them to kind of see how the NFT space can help their traditional paintings. They do all these hundreds of paintings. They're all contemporary artists in Brunei, but no one knows about them, right? So the one way that I kind of spoke to them, it's if you put your artwork on this space, we have things like smart contracts, they have things like, websites where you can upload your different platforms, different currencies that you can go to and upload your work, right? And you can promote them into places like NFT Asia, and people can see your work and how it kind of like, give them more confidence in that sense to show their work, because it's such a waste, because I have this artist, his name's Pengiran Wahab. He's 70 years old. He has 3,000 paintings at home, but no one knows about him, anywhere in Asia. And I find that very sad, right? So he's one of the first artists who connected me with a Singaporean artist here. He's also pretty senior. His name's Abu Jalal. So we're actually working on a Singapore Brunei Biennale for National Day, and we're making it an NFT, traditional art painting NFT exhibition. Yeah, so I guess with the support of the ministry in Brunei and whatever funding opportunities we can find, we'll work on that. Yeah.
Amazing.
Because most of the guys are like quite solitary.
Yeah.
Like, when an artist is like, you just want to have your space.
You're in an artist bubble.
Yeah, it's an artist bubble.
It gives them the opportunity to kind of like, immerse themselves in like something new, especially the older artists, like entering this, some of them are pretty like interested in learning how to like, what's cryptocurrency, or what's OpenSea, or what's, they're slowly learning.
Yeah.
And I actually connected with one of my friends from Blockchain Association. We're working towards building a similar one back in Brunei. So a Blockchain Association Brunei, and for people to kind of like provide training, for in mainstream education in terms of like trying to expose them to all these new information and stuff like that. Yeah.
Because I think that technology, it can be used for so many different things.
Exactly.
You can, get your art out there. You can sell that art, but you can also work with organizations to build education and or even help fundraise in a more efficient way.
Correct.
Right. So I've heard that you have also been involved with kind of working with fundraising initiatives from certain organizations.
Yeah.
Maybe you'd like to talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, because last year I connected with a friend of mine who invited me and Shavonne, Wong, to contribute an artwork for NTUC Inc. Charity Fund. So it's to raise funds for NTUC UK Fund. So it was an NFT. It was the first time I actually did a physical painting that was like, I forgot how big, it was quite big, like 9 feet long, high. And I donated it to NTUC through NFTs. So it was also for me to kind of like, when people actually see you do it, they actually can see the results of, they will be more, they will believe more that such things work, right? So yeah, I think I did a pretty good job with that, yeah. And I think you and me also, right? We're doing something for UNHCR.
Yeah.
So we're working on another fundraising together with UNHCR. It's an NFT exhibition. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that turns out.
Let's
But
see
very
how it turns
excited
out.
for it as
Yeah.
well. So yeah, I think working with this virtual community, we are able to, be more intimately familiar with the nuances of the space, right? Like we get to know what artists really want, we know what they need, and we're able to provide that support. Maybe Andy or Clara, you would like to answer this. What do you think are some ways we can keep growth organic and sustainable within an online virtual community? What are some points or factors that...
I think you have to start off as friends, because it's kind of hard to make friends and to actually grow. So once, like for us, we got to know each other, like then it's much easier to grow. Then you start to know, like whether we could click or not, or if there are certain things which we can talk about. But I think one of those things that I think probably we can like contribute is, I think the most important thing apart from just tech part, or you just or trying to build something. I think the mental health is quite important as well. I always feel that because that is something that is not often talked about, because I guess because everything's moving so fast, right? And the thing is, everything is just like and nobody has got time to really think about, do I have am I at a burnout? what happens when I got a creative, a mental block, you know, like a writer's block or something, or you know, what if I have nothing to offer at this point in time? Do I rest? Can I rest? So you know, how long do I have to do this for? Like I guess maybe the senior artists could contribute in that sense, that because they've been through a long time, even without the whole sales and everything. So of course the technology and all is great, the blockchain technology is great, but the thing is it comes with all these by kind of subjects, which is like really all these, like, you know, what if I don't sell, and you know, what if people don't like my work? Like you mentioned earlier, like, you know, there are certain things that you know, sometimes it just affects you. You know, what if people don't like my work? But the thing is, then we are there to actually like to tell them that, hey, you know, it actually takes a while, you know, because you need to build your own character and the styles to your works and all. So I think that will probably help us build a long-lasting friendship and community. So as long as we've got like good friendship with everyone, and you know, and you go through that part, right, it will eventually like bring on a better community. Yeah, that's what I feel. Yeah.
Amazing. I think you brought up some great points, and I want to push that to another question to Clara. You know, we are intimately familiar with how we kind of structure the Discord channel of NFT Asia, and you know, considering you know, the mental health aspect, as well as how artists kind of define their own success, we kind of built different channels for specific things. Like, for example, I want to bring up the celebrations channel, right? Because you know, initially, when we have kind of artists selling works, it did affect artists who were not selling at that point of time. So it's, you know, building this sense of how we can be more considerate to the journeys of other artists as well. Maybe you want to share your experience about you know, the celebrations channel, and also kind of having spaces for certain things within the Discord.
Sure. I think back onto your question about sustainability and growth, I think the trickiest bit about running a digital community is really the speed with which that information and conversations take place. I think, as Andy brought up earlier, you know, the conversations are very 24/7. And so on the kind of moderation team, or the team that is largely taking care of the community, it also feels like we should be on 24/7,
yes.
Or we should be, you know, taking turns being able to moderate or to take care of like what is happening within the Discord. And I think in the earlier months, that really led us to be like, wow, like we really have to be on it, you know, we really have to be looking at the space, and that isn't super sustainable. So I think over time we also learned to develop different ways where we take turns, where we seek out moderators who are based in different time zones, so that the Discord can always be taken care of, but it doesn't have to be the onus of, say, like less than a handful of people. I think also, yeah, the point on mental health, or the point on being aware of different journeys, that because we are, you know, all on Discord, and you are just plugged into so many different conversations, you become super aware of other people's successes. And you know, obviously not everyone is selling out every single day, but that can become the perception, just because you become so aware of like who's doing well. And the space itself as well lends to this air of FOMO, like fear of missing out. And it can be very difficult for each individual artist to kind of, you know, discern like the signal from the noise, and to just like stay focused amidst everything that is happening, like all the excitement and energy. I think what we try to do is, whenever these conversations come up, just, you know, remind anyone that we're in like conversation with that, hey, you know, it's also about being long-term, right? Like if you're here for the long term and you're here focused on your own practice, the works that you're creating, it's okay if, you know, you mint something and within a month it doesn't sell. Doesn't mean that, you know, the next day you won't suddenly have like wonderful news, or you won't have a breakthrough. Like being patient is so important. I think especially because in NFT Asia we have artists and arts workers who are in the trad art space, where we have experienced firsthand that things take time. And sometimes, the time allows things to condense and consolidate, and for you to then, grow, or for opportunities to accumulate. But because the NFT space has moved so quickly in the past year, we can forget that, especially if you're very young or you're coming into the space for the first time. So we try to provide a bit of that, counter perspective or energy. I think another thing is also, I think by moderating NFT Asia, I think we have all also learned that conversations online can move so quickly that it can be very. It's so important to always be giving each other the benefit of the doubt. A lot of times, we have members who are 16. They're kind of, being introduced to blockchain and NFTs and digital art for the first time, and they're looking for support. And it's important to be there to give them the understanding, to give them the supportive space that, everyone can benefit from, to facilitate conversations that open up a slower timeline so that there's more thought and care. With the kind of events that we run, like pitch practice, right? Where we're trying to focus a narrative on this is a safe space where you can practice with people that you can trust, because that we're just here with the sole purpose of listening to you and reflecting back to you what we're hearing, so that you can, have some feedback and see if this is indeed the way you want to present yourself, versus a space where, that is very critical or unforgiving. So I think a lot of these things are in the nuances of like how you moderate conversations, how you hold space for your members that maybe people don't think about too much initially when they're like, we want to start a digital community. But because it is so centered on interpersonal relationships and all the conversations we're having on Discord and Twitter, I think it becomes one of the most important parts of our responsibilities.
Yeah, and I think, in the early stages, we had to be very mindful about trying to give advice to people as well, because a lot of these artists, they were tagging their validation and success on selling works. And we have to remind them that that is not what makes you successful, but rather engaging in conversations about your artwork. By putting yourself out there, you're able to speak to people and they're able to see your art. And I think that took many months to kind of, to build that idea and that support in the community as well. And I think that leads me to, this next question, which is, what do you think are some of these support systems that NFT Asia actively provide in terms of events, discussions, or, whatever else that we do? What do you think are some of the important ones, besides pitch practice?
Sure. Maybe I can start with what I think we do, and then as two members who are within the community and who are also part of other communities, you could also share a bit about, what you like and what you'd like to see more of. I think the main thing that, we have always been about has been to provide that safe space, like a place where people can feel like, on Twitter and Discord, that they can come home to, where they can have conversations that they feel able to ask the questions that they have, right? Where they don't feel like they will be judged if they have a very basic question about how to use a platform, things that can be logistical, but also a place where they can feel a bit more honest, where, maybe they want to share a bit about what has worked, what hasn't, and their NFT journeys, things that they'd like to improve on, that I think there are people we can connect them to, or people who are present within the community that can, assist or provide those helpful kind of responses. I think in terms of structure, the way that we set up the Discord is such that, as you said, with celebrations, is to give space to different conversations we observe popping up. So for example, Discord has this thread function. If we see that, this particular project or this particular blockchain or area of something, is getting a lot of questions, and maybe we want to give that question a place to live, then we can start a new thread. A lot of it is just by observing how the conversation is moving and then responding to provide space for what our members want to see. with our events as well. I think because the core team, and there's actually around like 15 of us now, there's a lot of us. Yeah, a lot of us.
You can see everybody like go to celebrations, collectibles. Yeah.
So we really expanded so to avoid burning out or to avoid, it feeling really heavy on specific individuals. But having this large core team, besides myself, who's more in the role of like a curatorial or arts writing, everyone else on the team is an artist, an NFT artist as well, right? So they're also firsthand experiencing what it's like to be in that position, or to understand what are the resources that you lack, or what are the conversations you want to see more of. So a lot of our events come from this place of, okay, I'm an NFT artist. What do I want to see? What kind of support do I want to be connected with? The event that John was talking about, which happened last night, was with developers talking about smart contracts, trying to get a better understanding of it. We're doing an event at the end of this month that I'll be leading with generative artist Def Thief to talk a bit more about what is audiovisual, how do you, look at on-chain storage. So these are all questions that we ourselves want to know, that we have experienced that is lacking in the community, and then we try to, within our network or resources to make that happen for the artists, because we know we share similar experiences. And then I think the last thing is really just structurally, maybe not structurally, but the way we have always tried to operate is, we always acknowledge that, like, I think a digital native community of the kind that we're trying to run, we're still very new at. Like, this is a new thing for all of us, and I think new for a lot of people to have experienced the first time during COVID, right, where the need for digital communities suddenly increased tenfold. And so a lot of us are learning to engage in like this digital space for the first time in this like very intimate kind of manner, and to always be open to feedback. I think that's been something that we've always constantly try to remind ourselves of. If there are conversations that other people are trying to have with us, we try to be as open to them as possible. Also because Discord can be moving so fast, right? You can't possibly take care of every single conversation at all the times. So we try to trust in our community. We try to rely on our members as well to tell us if there are things that we're not aware of, or things that we should take a closer look at, so that we can implement it as fast as possible. And I think that's something that we try to write into our guidelines, something that we try to reiterate when we welcome new people. So we can set the tone there.
Andy and Hammy, what about you? Like some of these support structures of NFT
So actually, before I found out about NFT Asia, I actually started a Brunei NFT Discord. It was started off as only 2 people. Now we have 100. But ever since I've known you guys, I've been trying to get people to join NFT Asia, because it's getting a little bit heavy, when you try to be your own moderator. And
so you're moderating alone?
Yes, and you only have 3 other people who are NFT artists in the community. I mean, active ones, and it's so difficult to manage everybody, because it's at a certain point when you start answering questions, it's starting getting a bit crazy and heavy, right? So that's one, and the other thing is I'm also working on an art gallery in artist in residence thing in Brunei. So it's actually a space for not just Bruneians, but we're trying to get and invite people from especially Southeast Asia to come into Brunei it's a gallery where it's a blockchain art gallery, so it's funded by, it pays for itself. So if any artists want to use the space, it's free, and they can kind of like showcase their work just like this space, right? You can showcase their work, whether it's an NFT or not, and it can be a space for people to educate themselves. We can have talks, we can have workshops, we can invite people from anywhere, to come to Brunei and kind of like share their work, and share their experiences about art or NFTs, in general. So exposure, I think, is one thing that I feel that is most important for my community, especially.
Yeah, I think for me it's like as boring as it sounds, it is the art history part, because like without the people, the forebearers that came before us, that were breaking visual grounds, there wouldn't even be digital art in the first place. So, which is the core that is not discussed much, but it's great that I do get like on the NFT Asia Discord, I got like people like direct messaging me and asking me about these things, which is great. Yeah, because I think having a lineage to where all these our interests came from, the first core is always the development of your art. Even way before like you start to sell. So I mean, of course, selling right now is so much easier to do. You can just put it up, just get comments and all. But knowing where your interests came from, even for like, of course, these guys are like from like they are 3D artists, you know, they're game artists. You know, they came from a very tech background, right? But prior to this, even like if you look at as far as like maybe like Walt Disney, everything was hand drawn, and all these things, you know, way before this, there were like comics being hand drawn. So all these things and all this came from the core of like where art has brought us so far. So I think that has to be brought back, so that I think the younger artists would know where they came from. So it's always good to know where you came from, and because I think on the Discord channel you could see like ages of like from 15 to like almost like 60, even some of them are like, but in between I think you've got to be, like you mentioned, like you have to be like really sensitive about like certain things that you try to be as open as you can. But I always feel like, you know, as moderators for you guys, right, it's like it is when you give an opinion, right, you're opening yourself, you're being vulnerable as well. You know, it could be the other way, and you know, some people get offended or something, you know. But the thing is, you know, sometimes it's just out of goodwill. So I think that part, I think, kind of like it will work. It will be quite an added advantage if we bring everybody back and tell them that, you know, this is where this excitement comes from, because it's from like people that were like only breaking grounds way before, which is
It's definitely a very tough job.
It is.
Being a moderator.
I know.
As a moderator, so I'm really proud of, you know, all the moderators and people that has helped NFT Asia. You know, especially when we're all volunteering our time. We're not making money from this, but we just want to build this space, to build this community together. So I'm just going to wrap up with a final question. This is for Clara. With everything that we've talked about, what are the short-term goals for NFT Asia for 2022? Like, what are we getting up to?
What are we getting up to? A whole bunch, but I think something we're really looking forward to is we were invited to go to Art Dubai, so an art fair, a traditional art fair happening in March. So that's going to be one of our first, well, you know, this being the first, our little presentation at BLAXK by ActionCity, followed up by our attendance in Art Dubai. It's going to be the first time we're kind of interacting with the traditional art market in this format. And we know that, so within the new media section curated by Chris Fussner, there's also going to be quite a bit of other kind of DAOs or blockchain communities that will be present. So I think it'll be a great chance for us to, you know, introduce NFT Asia to a wider international audience in a physical space. I think we'll continue to be doing different curatorial projects, both on-chain and off-chain, to hopefully highlight as many artists as we can that's within the Discord, and to continue running events regularly. And I think we also have different ambitions for looking for ways to continue expanding. There's truly been a lot of interest in NFT Asia and individual artists that are, you know, that people get to meet within the community. And we want to make sure that we always have the resources and the labor kind of ready to make those connections as much as possible. For example, you know, John was really the one spearheading, putting the works together, making sure that everything could come in ready for our display at BLAXK. So it's always making sure that we have those kinds of expertise, we have the people who are able to, you know, support the community tangibly, logistically, with skill sets in these ways. So I think, we'll continue to lead these efforts and continue to bridge between trad art and NFT worlds, and
And I think also to kind of find a way to, you know, stay outside of kind of profit-driven structures, but at the same time be able to fundraise through either sales of NFTs or just to be able to sustain the community and also these engagements, be it art fairs or local exhibitions in general, because that's our goal at NFT Asia, and also I think the wider community for NFTs. Physical exhibitions as well as digital metaverse exhibitions can help validate an artist's practice by seeing their work out there being interacted with. I think it can bring a lot of joy and also just make artists feel like they're creating for an audience. And I think that's the space that we want to give. Yeah. So thank you everyone for your
John.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Clara.
So to wrap it up, I want to thank BLAXK by ActionCity for having us on NFT Insider, sharing our thoughts and perspectives from NFT Asia in building our community. So thank you, Andy, Hammy, and Clara. My name is John. Thank you so much.